a Devil's Wednesday. This is the State of the Fan Address. I'm your host, Sam Wu, here with Nick Villano of pucksandpitchforks.com as we're coming to you live from the Primetime Radio Studios inside the bunker, both North and South Jersey, covering the Garden State as we're streaming live on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, X Live, Twitch, and now on Instagram Live on the Let's Go Devils Network. As we've got special guests coming on a little bit later onto the podcast, Daniel Amoia of the Hockey Writers. It's been a heck of a week since the last podcast, Nick.
My head is spinning, Sam.
Yeah.
How long ago was the Dougie Hamilton thing? When was that? That feels like 10 weeks ago.
Yeah.
You have to start with the Luke Hughes injury. We got an update about an hour ago that he's going to try rehab. So so that does three things. And Daniel Amoia is going to be on with us in just a moment. We'll talk to him about it too. But it does three things, Sam. One, you could get him back this season, which is great, but you could not. And then he's going to rehab, and if it doesn't work, he's going to get surgery later. And if this is a 6-month recovery time, which I'm not sure, but if this is a 6-month recovery time, if he got the surgery now, he wouldn't miss any time next season. If he gets the surgery in April, he will miss time next season. So there's one impact. There's actually 4 impacts, so we'll get into all of them. Some of them kind of combined. 2, you cannot get the full $9 million now on LTIR. You can only get $3.8 million of LTIR relief because he is rehabbing to return this season. So that's a major impact. When he's going to attempt this, return, we don't know. We don't know how long the rehab is scheduled for. We just know that he's going to try rehab. So that's impact number 2. Number 3 is you now have 6 NHL defensemen. So trading Dougie Hamilton is a much harder endeavor. And then 4, this is the one people aren't talking about, Sam. If the Devils traded Dougie Hamilton, they wouldn't have to pay, likely, unless they did a 1-for-1 deal, like if they traded Hamilton for Stamkos or something. But if you did, if you got cap relief by the end of the season, the Devils would not have to pay overages next season. So the bonuses that are owed to Evgeny Dadonov, to Arseny Gritsek, to Hami Naho if he ends up getting bonuses for his play in the NHL, all these rookies who might get bonuses, you can charge that to the 2025-26 salary cap and then just be done with it. You didn't go over, that's fine. However, if you sit in this LTIR like you are, then you're going to have to pay those overages next year on the salary cap. So that could be $1 million or $2 million off the salary cap, and I think they lost $1 million from the salary cap this year. Imagine how impactful $1 million in the salary cap would be this year. They're scrounging for pennies, and they lost $1 million because they went over last year in a year where, Sam, I hate to say it, but they had nothing to play for.
Yeah.
I know making the playoffs is making the playoffs, but that team was destined for round 1 destruction the whole time. So, and it just goes back to, the person we're having on, Daniel, was in that room with Tom Fitzgerald. Was that last Thursday?
I don't remember when.
I think it was Thursday. But whatever day it was, he was in that room, and it's these little things, Sam, that we continue. Like, if he just puts Luke Hughes in LTIR and then doesn't move Hamilton or Palat this season, and then costs them money again next year, it's these little things that are really going to hurt Tom Fitzgerald. But I believe that Daniel's on with us. Sam,
Yeah,
is that what you said?
Yeah, he's on in the Andy Green room. His name is Daniel Amoia. Excuse me, From the Hockey Writers, you can find him on X at Daniel_Amoia. Daniel, how are you tonight?
Hey, how you guys doing?
We're doing good.
Good.
We're doing good. Yeah, I mean, let's just jump right in. We have so much to talk about. I don't want to waste time with niceties, Daniel. But I have to ask. We just got about an hour ago the update on Luke Hughes' injury. How are you feeling? What's your initial thoughts after seeing that?
I mean, with the language that was used, it's really hard to see how anyone could be optimistic. Emily Kaplan said he will not get surgery for now. Um,
Yeah.
Look, it's just kind of crazy that we're still talking about a Hughes brother and a shoulder injury after this long. It's unfortunate, and look, I'm not a doctor, I'm not an expert in any way, but I didn't really see much in that video. So to me, it seems like something that was just going to happen soon, regardless. And correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it's the other shoulder from what he injured last season, correct?
I believe so. Yeah, I think he injured the left last season, and this looked like the right. Um, yeah, I mean, all it was a jersey tug, and he was in the wrong place. But I didn't see a lot of hyperextension. Did you?
I did not, and on it, like I've probably watched this 300 times now, slowed down, just because it almost doesn't make sense to me. I want to say he almost starts reacting before the jersey tug even comes into play. I mean, like his reaction is almost like it's so quickly after the jersey tug where I don't even know if that played a part of it. Maybe it did, and he just reacted super, super quick, even in slow motion. I don't know, but it just looked like like it's one thing if you go crash into the boards, it's like, oh, there goes your shoulder. But this just looked, you really couldn't pick anything out that's like, oh yeah, that's what did it. So that's a little alarming to me. But I know you guys were just talking about it. Like they got to figure out a way to make this work to their advantage because they great 4 wins in 5 games, but they still have a lot of work to do if they want to make the playoffs and be taken seriously when those playoffs come.
Are you trading Dougie Hamilton at this point?
I've been super super torn on this. In one hand, I mean he's the closest thing the Devils have to a true number one D, and if you look at some of the past few Cup winners, I mean that's something they all have in common. They have legitimate number one offensive defensemen, and that's what we saw in 22-23 with Hamilton. He was that guy, and he's starting to show glimpses of it. But at the same time, with that cap hit, I mean I don't know. I don't know if I've personally given Fitzgerald my trust to be able to navigate that if they are able to free up Hamilton's money. But I'm just so torn on it because obviously we all know what Hamilton can do and what he has done the past few games since this benching. I mean, he's been, I believe, over a point per game. It's like 7 and 6 or something like that. Um, but can he sustain that? It's still mostly all been assists. Is he gonna find that goal scoring touch that he had in 22-23? There's just a lot of question marks, and in a sense, I feel bad for Fitzgerald that he has to navigate it when there's no like clear cut answer. But at the same time, I mean, he got himself into this predicament, and he had a lot of time to try to navigate it, and still really nothing has happened, obviously. So I don't. It's on him at the end of the day, but I don't see a clear cut answer either way. I guess it kind of would depend on what that exact trade looks like, whether retention or whether the Devils have to attach something or the other team's giving anything of value. Because I feel like that's still an unknown. I've seen so many people have wildly different. I've seen people saying, "Oh, the Devils have to attach a first," and other people saying the Devils could get some pretty legitimate assets back, and it's probably somewhere in between both of them, obviously, both extremes. But it's still it's tough because I think I'm leaning towards yes, trade him, just
Mm-hmm.
because you don't know if his play is going to fall off more next season. I still believe that look, the Devils have been winning these games 2-1 lately. That's still not who they are. I think they're yes, they might be able to squeak out some wins, but is that going to play when they're if they somehow even get to a team like Carolina or Colorado in the playoffs, I don't. I mean,
Right.
I could see this team getting swept in 4 games if that's the case. So
I
I
mean, if we get to
I
Colorado in the playoffs, then whatever. I don't care what happened beforehand.
that
I don't
that's
care if we
fair.
win
That's
every game
fair.
1-0 because then we're in the Stanley Cup final, But I hear what you're saying. I, I even look at like some of the advanced stats of like Washington, right? And they just blow us to the water in a lot of things and everything besides special teams. And our special teams aren't that good. Like the Devils' special teams are kind of rough too. So it's really they're just in a different class right now. Not talent wise. Talent wise, they should be up with every other team, but execution, they're down in the dumps with they deserve to be in the same conversation as Ottawa, and you know it changes so much at the bottom, but Columbus and then those teams right now. Do you talking about Dougie Hamilton? I kind of want to stick to this just real quick. Because you were in that room last week when Tom Fitzgerald kind of had a semi impromptu press conference, I guess you'd call it. Kind of just grabbing the people who were there and having a conversation with y'all. And listen, I appreciate that he did it, but it felt like, first of all, did you think he took a bad approach to the Dougie Hamilton benching with the comments to Pierre and kind of how it all went down? Like, did you think that was not the right approach?
Yeah, I think I definitely sense some kind of sarcasm behind it with it's the business of our lineup. I
Right.
obviously I think if I'm Dougie Hamilton, I have every right to be frustrated with that. And furthermore, like this is the clause he negotiated, so just all of it being out there publicly is just not a good look to begin with, regardless of what Fitzgerald says. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's I don't think he took the best route, and even if there is some truth to Hamilton coming out for performance reasons, that's a problem in of itself. Because if you look analytically, and we know these teams use analytics, even if it's not maybe the exact same as say a natural stat trick, but he's
Right.
been one of the Devils' better defensemen this season, and maybe that just speaks to how much their D has struggled as a whole. But regardless, if you have this guy who, even though he's not producing points wise, has still performed probably top two, maybe even the best on the team, and you're saying he should come out for performance reasons, that's a problem in of itself. And I just think there was a lot of, I guess, covering up the truth in Fitzgerald's mini presser. You saw him saying that money wasn't an issue with the Quinn Hughes situation. I mean, like the most reputable names in hockey were saying it was. So I find it hard to believe. But I think, and it's not just in those two questions or talking points. It's the presser as a whole. He didn't do a lot to instill any confidence in Devils fans. In fact, probably did the opposite. So I think it's just a theme with him. He continues to say the things that Devils fans don't want to hear, and it's one thing if there's like a true plan there that he's sticking to, but I don't think anyone really knows the plan. I mean, how many times can you say working the phones? If nothing gets done, it doesn't matter. So it's just the whole
Yeah.
thing. I really do understand why Devils fans have been immensely frustrated, not just with the Dougie Hamilton situation and the Quinn Hughes situation, but just with the direction of the team, because this shouldn't even be something we're talking about in 25, 26. Like they won 52 games 3 seasons ago. Like this should not. They've just moved backwards since then, and that's it shouldn't even be a conversation, yet it is, and that falls on Fitzgerald. And yes, he did take responsibility, but what does responsibility matter if it's not going to turn into results? And 4 wins in 5 games aside, like this team has a lot of work to do to make the playoffs. They need, I just had the numbers, I think 41. Yeah, they'll probably need at least 40 to 41 points in these next 32 contests. In theory, they could go 19, 11, and 2 and still might miss. So, I mean, They have a mountain to climb, and it's almost astonishing that with their names on paper that this is even a conversation.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, and that's a stark number, 19, 11, and 2. You're based, yeah, I mean, what's that, like a 620 point percentage, something like that? We don't have to do the math, but, and that's just not, I think they're at a 520 or 5, I think they're at 540 right now. So it's pretty far off what they've been doing. And yeah, I mean, it's stark. Um, at what point do you sell?
I think they're gonna have a pretty good idea by the Olympic break. If they just play 500 hockey until then, it's like okay, let's be realistic. If they're
Yeah,
gonna win, what do they have? I think 7 games left. Maybe like okay, if they win 5 of 7, it's like all right, they're probably right there with the wild card or third in Metro. I think there'll be because the Olympic break will also give everyone time to just kind of dissect everything as a whole. It's not going from one game to another super quick. Like I mean, really, their whole schedule. I mean, they've kind of got a little lull now, but they've had so many games. So I think that'll kind of give everyone time to be realistic, whether that's fans, whether that's the front office, to be like, okay, we have these 3 weeks or whatever it is off. Like, where are we going from here?
sure.
I really do believe by then we'll have an idea, but they need to have that idea too. It can't just be me saying it.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. Yeah, I look at the situation and I just even when like and Dave, I don't know if you're feeling this too, but like when I try to write, I was like, I don't even know anymore. Uh, uh, uh d- do I go to rumors? Do I go to analysis? Like, what is even worth talking about? Because they're in this gray area where like they should push for the playoffs because Tom Fitzgerald's fighting for his job. If they miss the playoffs, I can't see him coming back. I can't see Sheldon Keefe coming back. Like all these, there's so many uh, obvious things on the line. Are you surprised that nothing has been done? Like no firings, no trades. Like I'm not trying to get you in trouble in the room. I know you answer to them a lot more than I do, but are you surprised that they haven't made anything of substance?
So, based on how they operate, I'm not surprised. I mean, we had the lockstep comment from Fitzgerald. It really seems like, for better or worse, they all have this belief in each other. But just taking myself away from how they operate, how a great hockey team, a successful hockey team should operate, I do think something should have changed, and I'm not even gonna say what that is. There had to be something, and for nothing to happen, to basically just accept like yeah, like we were in this prime position to be possibly perennial cup contenders a few years back, and now here we are. We've won one playoff series since 2013. Like I don't think there's been enough of an acknowledgement that that's not good enough. And
Mm-hmm.
when that's the case, just there needs to be some kind of shakeup, like some kind of message. You could have these locker room speeches and have one good period after all you want. You could claw out a few close games and make people believe that you're going to win consistent hockey games. But if you look at the roots of the Devils' issues, none of them have fundamentally changed. They're all still there, and there's a lot of them. I don't want to like just make this like the most negative thing in the world and just keep harping on everything because everyone knows the issues. How many more times can you talk about finishing chances until you're just honestly sick of even bringing it up? How many more times can you talk about lack of even strength scoring? How many more times can you talk about inconsistent goaltending? Fundamentally, there's still issues there that, in my eyes, have them not that they should not be labeled as a contender. Really, like, I mean, odds are they're not making the playoffs,
Right.
and that's pretty crazy. So like I said, with how they operate, I am not surprised that nothing has happened, but I think something, even even if it's just like on a more minor scale, something had to have happened to send a message and show that this isn't okay. We're not happy with this. Me personally, I'm a New York Mets fan. I mean, not saying it has to be this extreme, but we just saw our basically entire core blown up.
Yeah.
Because it simply in their contention window, making the playoffs for one season, not making the playoffs for one season after having a successful season the year before wasn't acceptable. And whether you agree with it or not, it's a statement that something needed to change. And I mean, what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And I mean, look, Connor Brown was a great ad in the offseason. Evgeny Dadonov, I mean, in theory, 20-goal scorer should have been a great ad, but was it enough to push the team over the edge? It certainly didn't appear that way then, and even more so now. And it, I keep saying that they just have a mountain to climb, and I don't see a world where, especially with all the inaction thus far, where Fitzgerald is able to make his way out of it. And he could certainly maybe go ahead and prove me wrong, but I don't see it right now.
Let's end on a positive note. This has been negative, and hey, listen, I'm the interviewer, so this is on me. Let's talk about the Haminaho Gritzik Brown kind of connection. There, and Cody Glass, obviously. I was trying to, there was kind of a rotation there with those four. What did you see last night from those four? Just how they were playing.
Yeah, I mean, credit where it's due. Fitzgerald for the Cody Glass ad last trade deadline. I mean, that's been money. He handles the defensive responsibilities extremely well, and over an 82 game pace, he's on pace for 23 goals. So it's impossible to complain about that really from a bottom six center. But really, all of them. I mean, they kind of played more so the type of game that the Devils did in 22-23. Really tenacious on the puck. They're fast. And if you look at the underlyings, Gritsuk, I mean, he's basically primed for a breakout. He's been incredible all season, and he just hasn't been placed with consistent line mates. Hasn't been able to fully just like grab it and go. But I wouldn't be surprised if he just tore it up over these next few weeks and the rest of the season. And then like they're all very responsible defensively, but they're activating offensively. I mean, none of them, even when they're not scoring, are liabilities. They're usually doing the right things, and I think they kind of got rewarded for that. And I mean, obviously the team would like scoring from their top guys, but it's got to be refreshing for Devils fans to be getting that depth scoring, which has been a struggle to come by all season. And I think just by not to harp on these guys who are obviously trying their best, but addition by subtraction, Juho Lammikko and Luke Glendening have really struggled all season. And just by getting a new body in there, I mean, Haminaho, 13-1 scoring chance advantage in his first two games. Like, neither Glendening nor Lammikko have put up anything to that sort of stretch at any point of the season. And again, don't want to harp on those guys. Like, it's not their fault. The Devils gave them those deals and inserted them into the lineup. But at the same time, like, the Devils need more. And this Haminaho line, and whether he's switched off and Brown is part of it, they're showing what they can do. And that, I mean, the Devils need to hope that works out, because if there's any world where the Devils do move forward, it's going to be with a line like that just becoming really successful, kind of like that Tampa Bay line. What was that? Coleman, Gaudreau, and Gord a few years back when they won the cup. Like that sort of third line where they could kind of do a bit of everything. They're responsible and they could strike in some clutch moments. So yeah, I really liked what I saw out of all of them. Good combination of defensive skill, but also, I mean, offensive when they need to, kind of just turning it up. And I mean, Cody Glass, I mean, he's looked like a goal scorer. Like that goal last night,
As
that's
many as
not.
Jack Hughes. Him and Jack
Yeah,
Hughes have the
exactly.
same amount of goals this year. And Bratt. They all have 11. It's crazy.
So I know some people have said kind of the best role players are are guys who were great in juniors and maybe kind of struggled at the start of their careers and then started to pick up their footing. And that's kind of exactly what's happened with Glass. And I mean, obviously not a top scorer, but he's been someone who can chip in, and that's really all the Devils need. They can't have these guys who are just quiet for like 20, 30 games. They need guys who can, they don't have to be scoring every night, but just depth guys who can chip in occasionally. And I mean, Glass is, I think he's always had the right mindset as well. I mean, he kind of knows his role. He's not sacrificing anything to try and get that extra goal. He doesn't appear to be focused on his numbers or whatever. Not saying other players are per se, but he knows what his role is and he goes out and does it well. Compared to some of the guys who have come out of the lineup and really haven't been able to provide that. So, yeah, that line is a line that's going to need to keep moving forward. But if Haminaho, I mean, he played pro. He's been playing pro for a long time now. That's why I never liked the whole like first pro goal when he scores his first AHL goal, because like
Right.
I mean you could almost make an argument that Liga is in Finland is pretty similar to the AHL in terms of talent. And he was almost a point per game player there, and since after his slow start in the AHL, I mean he was close to a point per game after that. So I'm not really surprised in the slightest that he's been serviceable at the NHL level. And again, 2 games, but he has a very well-rounded game, much like Gritsuk, where you don't really have to be concerned about deploying them in tough moments because it seems right off the bat that they could handle it.
Daniel Moya, I really appreciate you spending time with us tonight, kind of giving your perspective. You've been seeing, I mean, there's a lot to talk about. We could talk all night, but you got some writing to do, I assume, just because of all the things that are happening, all the places that we'll go. So, real quick, plug your stuff. Let everybody know where they can find you and what you got coming up on the Hockey Writers.
Yeah, appreciate it. Could find me on Twitter, Daniel, or X now, I guess, Daniel_Amoia. Could just Google my name, Daniel Amoia. My articles will come up, also available in my Twitter bio. Have a few things coming out. I've uncovered a trend, an interesting trend that I don't want to dive too into for the sake of writing, but it's kind of very telling on where the Devils are at right now. Have a few other minor things, gonna have a prospect report out soon. And then if you're into that kind of stuff, Italy, gonna be breaking down some of their best players for the Olympics, because not many people are familiar with the players on their roster. They don't have a single NHLer, so I think that'll be fun as well. And yeah, just looking forward to covering the team. Maybe they could turn it around. These next few games before the Olympic break are going to be huge, and thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, it was great. I appreciate you. We'll definitely have you on again before the season's end, and maybe we'll talk to you during the Olympic break just to get some of that Olympic hockey in. But I'm really looking forward to that Italy thing. I was surprised they didn't go for a couple NHLers just based on what is it called? It's like a nationality waiver or something. But they went with what they went with. Good for them. I think they're going to get their doors blown off, but
Absolutely.
it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. Daniel, thank you so much for spending some time with us tonight.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Hey, Nick. I'm back.
You basically just like Thanos snapped Daniel out of the existence there.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
You transition.
Yeah.
Listen, we got into a lot there. Obviously, the most impactful is what do they do next? I think that's been the question all season. And they just it's like someone. How do I explain this? The Devils feel like that person that's going to get broken up with, but feels like they're still in a relationship if they just don't answer their phone.
Yeah.
Like, if I just don't see it, it's not happening. There's no issues if I'm not paying attention to it. The house is on fire, but I'm looking down the street, so it's not my problem. It's I and I've been a staunch defender of Tom Fitzgerald. You know that. I've said I've given him the excuses because they were valid at the time, but it's the compounding excuse.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't make the goalie trade because goalie trades kept getting vetoed. Well, that stinks, but like you let it go to the point of you wait until the deadline to finally address it and ruin the season. Last year they desperately needed another center all year. When you lost Michael McLeod, you never replaced. I don't even remember who they started out with. Who was their fourth line center to start the season last year? Was it Lazar? It was Lazar, and then he got hurt.
Believe so.
Well, Lazar shouldn't be your starting center. He should be your fifth center who plays wing. Like that's how. But they went into the season with just Lazar will be fine, and then Hull at 3C. Like we're fine. Like that's a below average 3C, and then a very below average 4C. Who's a good bottom six winger, but like it should only be center when you absolutely have to. But you started the season, and then that was it. So when Holla and Lazar both got hurt, didn't do anything to address center. I don't even remember who they were playing at center. I think maybe they moved Mercer there, and then I'm trying to remember who was playing center last year.
I think Mercer moved down to the third line. I think he moved down the third line, and then oh jeez,
there had to be an age that I'm not thinking of.
I can't. But wasn't he
Dowling
taking
a center?
Yeah, it was somebody that was decent at face-offs. I forgot who it was though.
It was Dowling. It's so unimportant that I can't remember, but I cover this team. He didn't address it until the trade deadline when he got Cody Glass. But at that point, you also lost Jack Hughes.
Yeah.
So you had Dawson Mercer, who doesn't want to play center, has said that, does not want to play center. He's now your second-line center on a playoff team. And Cody Glass comes in, and at some point, he was the second-line center. And again, we've seen him play really well. He is a fourth-line center with upside to be a decent third-line center in the right situation. He is never to be in the top six because it's just not his role. He just didn't. He didn't turn into what he was in juniors. That's fine. He's great at what he is. I'm so glad he's on the team. He's such a great energy guy, great defensively, does a lot of things really well. The point is that I can make all the excuses in the world for Tom Fitzgerald. Eventually, you gotta be a little uncomfortable in your seat when you make a deal. You gotta really put yourself out there, because if you don't, you're just gonna be this middling team.
Yeah.
The Florida Panthers make some ridiculous deals. The Vegas Golden Knights just got Rasmus Anderson, and they saved money. Because they're out there, they're willing to pay the price, they're willing to make the move, they're willing to get bold, they're willing to and here's the thing, Sam. This also shows. This season shows what was wrong. The Vegas locker room isn't woe is me because any of them can get traded at any time. The Vegas locker room isn't down in the dumps because any of them can get traded at any time. This season they bungled the trade rumors. I don't hear Vegas guys on the trade block. I don't hear about it. Neither do you, because they make it clear you all can get traded at any time. If it doesn't work anymore, we're going to move on you, and then maybe we'll take it back because they've brought people back before.
Yeah,
but the process in Vegas is that we're going to get the best team we possibly can. And in New Jersey, they let this fester. I think that Dougie Hamilton stunk this year because of the trade rumors. And Daniel Moya said that by statistics he was the best or the second or whatever. I know what those statistics say. In the aggregate, sure, Dougie Hamilton probably is having a good season. But hockey isn't a game of aggregation. Hockey is a game of jumping on mistakes. There's only usually 3 to 7 goals in a game. So every mistake that turns into a goal means so much more than 6 shifts that were, flatlining or whatever. They were in the middle. The penalties that Hamilton get, I think he definitely has at least as many penalties as he had all of last year. Maybe now more, because this was a week ago. This is when he got benched. When he got benched, he already had as many penalty minutes as he did the year before. It's not like he's fighting. These are minor penalties that put the Devils behind. And he had some mistakes in positioning. There was a couple times where he just looked like he didn't skate to a position that put his goalie in a bad position. And excuse me. So I put a lot of this on Tom. I put a lot of this on Tom Fitzgerald. I've been a staunch defender, but I can't defend it anymore. Because once again, the Devils are begging for a move. When Quinn Hughes was available, I'm pretty sure the Devils were either in a playoff spot or got into a playoff spot by the next game. Because I remember talking about Jack Hughes. When Jack Hughes came back, the Devils were in a playoff spot. By points percentage of my points. You could have gone out. Every report says the Devils could have done this. They could have made this work. They had first dibs. People don't use those language, but you read between the lines. The Devils had first dibs. And he couldn't pull the trigger. And you see when he said something like, Simone Nemec has been our best defenseman, you kind of see why he didn't pull the trigger. Because this is how he's seen the game. He's seen the game in just an incorrect way. Just flat out. If you think Simone Nemec has been your best defenseman this year, you were looking at this game incorrectly. Flat out. That's not an opinion. Simone Nemec has not been the best defenseman. He's made a myriad level of mistakes. Simone Nemec has had a really good season. I have a lot of people who are saying he's had a bad season. That's not true either. But he hasn't been your best defenseman. Not by a long shot. Even when you look at his best stretch, I think the Pesce stretch to start the year is better than Nemec's best stretch. I think Hamilton's stretch right now is better than Nemec's stretch. And I know that that conversation. But again, it just shows the conversation we're having. Like, is this the right guy? And Daniel kind of touched on it a little bit when he said, "Are you going to trade Dougie Hamilton?" Because then that's two things. You're going to put him in charge of trading Dougie Hamilton and trying to get the assets back for him, and then you're going to put him in charge of spending the $9 million that you get from it. And I brought up that, like, if you don't spend it correctly, you're going to be spending on bonus overages next year. And I don't know if this is a team that you should be spending extra money on. I don't know if this is a team that should stay in LTIR all season. I don't know if this is a team that should be at the salary cap ceiling or above it, because they're not good. And I'm saying this after 4 wins in 5 nights. But, like, Sam, I watched the game last night, and Jake Allen saved them in the third period. And sometimes, like, listen, it's a there's 20-man game every time. Everybody has to step up. But, when you have Jack Hughes, who has as many goals as Cody Glass, and is clearly playing with one hand, and teams can prepare for that. You can prepare for a guy when a guy's on the ice. When Jack Hughes is usually on the ice, prior to his hand injury, he would pull people into him. And that's why assists came so easy to him, because his shot was so great. Like a lethal shot. Now guys can sit back and just cover passing lanes. And that's why Jack Hughes taking a ton of shots. He's had some bad luck. The finishing is insane this year. The Devils are by far the worst finishing team in the league. By far, like, they should have many more goals than they actually do. But at some point, you just have to look in the mirror and say, you're not here to collect a paycheck. You're here to make moves. And I don't think Sheldon Keefe is the problem. But I do think that there's a history of teams firing their coach and going on a run. I don't know if they could get a better fixture for Tom Fitzgerald this year, but I'm looking at what Buffalo's doing, and Buffalo's probably going to make the playoffs after firing Kevin Adams. I know what teams have done in the past. When a team finally just makes the move and makes the trade, I know you're desperate for offense. Guys, make the Steven Stamkos thing work. I know you're desperate for a center. Go get somebody. Anybody.
But what's holding Fitzgerald back?
He wants to win every trade. He likes when people talk about how he wins trades. He likes to go in interviews, and that's a Ray Shero thing. Ray Shero loved to do media after he made the big trade. Ray Shero was everywhere after he traded for PK Subban and drafted Jack Hughes. He was everywhere. He talked to everybody. And I think he gets that from his. I don't know if I want to call Ray Shero Tom Fitzgerald's mentor, but he followed him from Pittsburgh to New Jersey and worked under him for a decade at least.
Yeah.
He learned that from him. You always want to come off like the winner. The problem is that Shero would make deals that made sense. So even if you're not the winner today, I'm going to be the winner at the end, right? I'm going to lift the Stanley Cup, or I'm going to make the move that makes sense. And I believe Shero fired somebody to get to oh man, not Blasio. What was the name of the coach who won the Stanley Cup for Shero? He went on to coach Buffalo, and then I think he coached Seattle.
Man,
his name.
Dan Bylsma?
Yeah, Bylsma. They fired somebody to get to Bylsma, and kind of what was considered a shrewd move. So, like, Shero would make the move. And Shero, he really didn't. Here's the difference. Shero really didn't want to fire Hines, and he did it in, November?
Yeah.
Fitzgerald didn't want to fire Ruff, and he did it in February. That's the difference. They both came in with a similar personality, and
you mean Fitzgerald didn't want to fire Ruff?
Oh, yeah, did I say Shero?
Yeah.
Yeah, Fitzgerald didn't want to fire Ruff, and he didn't do it until February. I think Fitzgerald learned patience from Shero, but he learned the wrong lesson. Because at some point, you come to a deal. You don't just call everybody and wait for somebody to match your price. Sometimes you have to, these guys want to win too. Find a way to have everybody win. That's not what's been happening. And it's why we haven't seen a really major trade since. I mean, Markstrom was a major trade, but and that's the other thing, Sam. He said in the interview, I signed Markstrom because I started the negotiations when I traded for him, as if nothing has changed, as if it was the same situation. So yeah, that's where I'm at. Do you got anything?
No.
Okay. Let's do some plugs.
Yeah, let's do some plugs.
I'm going to have some interesting fan-sided exclusives coming next week from a certain superstar New Jersey Devils player. But later tonight, we're going to have there was an interview with Jack Hughes that went up today. We're going to have some reaction to that. We have some stuff on some articles on Luke Hughes' injury, the update, and then a couple ideas of how it impacts the trade. What Tom Fitzgerald's going to do with the trades. I'm going to have a look to see if they're going to do anything up until the Olympic break. We'll have plenty of coverage on, there's going to be a lot coming over the next couple of weeks. We're going to really see what this team is. Is this team really a playoff contender, or do we need to start, selling the Prudential Center for parts?
All right.
We don't have to do that. They keep getting tax subsidies, but that's neither here nor there.
Oh, well, there's going to be the morning woo tomorrow. 109 straight days of the morning woo. Yeah. The only live morning podcast about the New Jersey Devils.
We love that. We love a morning woo.
Yeah. Everyone loves the song.
The people who drive in on a Thursday morning, they get a State of the Fan address and a morning woo.
It's a double whammy.
Why people love Thursdays.
Yeah. Although, last podcast was on a Tuesday. These Wednesday games, we got to talk to the NHL schedulers. You can't be...
This season was rough.
Yeah. But anyway. Yeah, go to pucksandpitchforks.com. You got the Luke Hughes injury makes Dougie Hamilton indispensable for the New Jersey Devils. What a headliner like that. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Also, there's stuff about Shimon Nemec, more Luke Hughes stuff, and Lenny Amenaho as well. So go to pucksandpitchforks.com. Morning Woo tomorrow. Thank you to all those tuning in. Mark Schwab, I'll get to your super chat tomorrow on the Morning Woo. Anyway, till next time, let's go Devils.